Effective communication skills are fundamental to success in many aspects of life. Many jobs require strong communication skills, and people with good communication skills also usually enjoy better interpersonal relationships with friends and family. Effective communication is therefore a key interpersonal skill, and learning how to improve your communication has many benefits. However, many people find it difficult to know where to start. Today's discussion sets out the most common problem areas and suggests how you might focus your attention. We don't need any special classes to work on our communication. Our expert for today, Swati Rai, will tell us how to go on working on the skills with so many available resources outside the classroom. Welcome, Swati, to the show today. What I want to know is there a grave necessity to emphasize or to improve upon on the communication skills in the scenario today? If yes, how much is the necessity? And I would like for you to tell me, why is there so much focus on communication skills?
Thanks, Manisha, for that question. I feel communication is required not only in professional scenario, but also personal situations. This is required because firstly, we need to maintain interpersonal relationships. 2, we need to meet our goals. 3, we need to communicate our decisions to the entire team. And 4, we need to be all on the same page if we want the work to be done. So I feel clarity in communication is the key to success.
What are the tools that we can use to enhance the skills, Swati?
Since the pandemic struck, all of us, and we were kind of stranded at home, in lockdowns, especially our children, I feel that we can use technology, we can leverage technology to enhance our communication skills, which our teachers have been doing as well. Firstly, there is so much information available on the internet. I feel we have to have a judicious use of tools and what is it that we are trying to improve. Firstly, identify what are the skills we are trying to improve. Is it speaking? Within speaking, is it pronunciation? Is it word stress? Is it sentence stress? Is it unstressed and stressed syllable knowledge? Is it just fluency in speech or accuracy in speech? So once we're able to identify and pinpoint the exact sub-skill that we'd like to improve upon, with the aid of the teacher, of course, and parents, then we'll be able to identify what are the tools. For example, if I have a book in front of me, forget about technology for the moment. I have a book in front of me. I want to read it. Do I want to read it for some specific information, or do I want to read it just to get the main idea of the book? So are you skimming or are you scanning? So you can enhance these 2 skills, the sub-skills of reading, by just looking at the thinnest book possible in your library. 1. 2, there are, of course, tools on the internet. Of course, there are many websites, there are many podcasts, there are apps that you can use. Duolingo is a very popular app, right? Of course, I don't want to plug any particular website or app. However, there's Dave's ESL Cafe, there is Voice of America, there is ABCYA. These are websites, and BBC English. These are websites that you can look at for quizzes, for grammar. You can even look at listening practice. These have exercises on listening texts that can test your listening for gist and listening for specific information. It has also vocabulary, exercises and games, bingo. It has multiple choice questions. It has conversational English practice material. Of course, there's dime a dozen apps and resources available. But first, as an English language trainer and communication skills trainer, I'd like to say, identify what is it that you're trying to improve. Because spreading yourself too thin, there is so much information, there are so many resources. You Google today, you get 100 websites. But what is it that you're looking for? Are you looking for enhancing your writing skills? Then you may not wish to go to a particular website. You may wish to go to another website. So focus, clarity, and mindful approach in accessing these tools would be the key to success.
So like you have explained, Swati, there are people who have flair for the language when it's written. And then there are some who excel in the spoken language. But why so much focus on verbal communication?
You're very right in pointing out that different people have different proficiency levels in language ability. However, I wouldn't say that one is better than the other. It all depends on the context of your working. So if, for example, if you're working in a public relations company and your job requires a lot of interpersonal relationships, face-to-face communication, talking over the telephone, maintaining client relations, then this would mandate definitely, superiority of, let's say, I wouldn't say superiority, it would leverage your spoken English skills would be more required and more, in demand in your job. Whereas if you are into, let's say the back end of a company's operations, you have to draft proposals, you have to write reports, you have to send emails, then writing takes precedence. However, all these skills are symbiotic to each other, all feed into each other. If you're listening well, you will respond well. You will speak better. You will know what to respond to. Your answers will be pinpointed, brief, specific, rather than rambling and long-winded. So I feel context of your working is important, and what is the skill required for your industry, that will take precedence. However, all listening, writing, reading, and of course, vocabulary, grammar, all skills are equally important.
So there's a common saying that goes that we mostly listen with the purpose to respond and don't really listen to understand. So how big is the role of listening in communication?
It's a very good question. I would say we mostly listen to react, not even respond. Respond would be slightly a better, way of responding to or answering a question. Listening is very important. First, we have to process the information. We need to know exactly what is being asked of us. Two, we need to actively listen. Now, how do we listen actively? Which means if you're speaking, then either I paraphrase some of your statement, I repeat the same statement. For example, if you've just said that, how important is listening, then I've just said, oh, listening is very important. I'm repeating some parts of your statement. That means I have listened to it. I have processed that information. You have understood, my listener has understood that I have heard you. And I have processed that information. I'm also shaking my head, I'm smiling, I'm maintaining an eye contact. These are all parts of active listening, rather than just maintaining, a wan face without any expression, an expressionless face. You are using body language, facial expressions to convey to the speaker that I listen to you, I'm here, I do know what you're trying to say. One is that. Second, we are also listening for two purposes, either specific information. For example, if you are at the train station and you are listening to some train announcements being made at the train station, at the platform, you're only listening for what time does your train leave or what time does your flight leave. So you're listening for specific information. So if you're clear about the purpose of listening, that will also help us process information better and not, like you said, jump the gun and just react. Or are you listening for gist? For example, if you're listening to a political leader's speech, then you're listening for what is the purpose of this speech. Basically, he wants me to, or she wants me to vote for him or her. So that is the gist. So understanding the purpose of listening, why are we listening? What is expected of us? All these are, of course, very important. There are other barriers to listening, such as a vocabulary. Sometimes the vocabulary used by the speaker can be quite dense. Sometimes we are struggling with the word. We are unable to wrap our heads around what is that word that the speaker used. And therefore, we misconstrue the message. Therefore, it's also very important for the listener to check back that what you heard was what was correct. Was it right? Or was it just your imagination and your perception?
Communication is required to develop emotional quotient capacity. The current day order of communication is to be adaptive, on the go, and innovative. Unlike the straight-jacketed formal and written communication, which we are so used to. So is there a requirement left to still go ahead with formal communication?
Interesting question. And times are changing, and they're changing very fast, as we know. And so is our texture of communication. If you notice, language is not something different from where we exist. It's part of the society. So it will also change according to the changing norms of society. So what was acceptable 10 years ago, perhaps a slang usage, has become normal now. The use of acronyms, the use of abbreviations, initialisms, they've become quite common even in email communication. Email is being now taken over by almost, I'm sure you agree with me, on WhatsApp. So we're texting each other more professionally as well. We are evolving the nature of communication. However, having said that, there's another thing in this. Again, the context of the organization you are in. A lot of it is guided by the organizational hierarchy, organizational expectations, laid down protocols, needs, requirements, and this will vary over geographies. This will vary over, countries, over contexts, within countries, different cultural contexts. So definitely communication is evolving. Now, coming to formality and informality, it depends. There's a very interesting word in the English language communication skills that we teach is register. Register is essentially the context of our communication and how our language changes according to the context. So for example, if you're using a very highly formalized word, would it be convenient for you to spend a few minutes over reviewing this report? This is very formal, but I can also make it informal by saying, could you review this report? And highly informal by saying that, just review it, please, or delete the please. So the same thing you can convey in 3 or 4 ways, semi-formal as well, including semi-formal. So you have to be, what is more important is to be aware of what language to use to convey what and how, so that you can change your language according to the formality, informality, semi-formality of your organization and make it relevant, and don't end up hurting any sentiments, and also flouting any rules or regulations in case they are there in place.
Swati, a question for you on the role of technology. Technology has now made us interact with people, with diverse cultures, regions, geographies on a daily basis, requiring emotional intelligence over the erstwhile need of the IQ. So what is your point of view on the role of technology in communication?
As I see it, firstly, IQ and EQ both are important. However, with the pandemic having struck us since last year, if you notice, even the mode of writing emails has changed. We become more mindful, more empathetic. Our emails have become, more careful, so to speak, because there have been a lot of cases of bereavements in the house, in people's homes. So we become more aware and cautious. So definitely with technology, because of remote working having taken over, WFA, which is work from anywhere, has taken over our world, and AI has entered our world. Digital platforms have entered our world, but it should not be at the cost of humanizing communication. The communication should remain human, because at the end of the day, we are dealing with with a living and a feeling person at the end of the spectrum, perhaps facing a computer, perhaps facing a smartphone, but we're still dealing with sentiments and feelings. So yes, technology has taken over our communication. Texting or text lingo has become the norm of the day. Code switching is important, I would say. You know that, okay, you're texting your friend, that code is different, that choice of vocabulary, lexis will be different from perhaps texting your boss or your colleague or your junior colleague or senior colleague in the workplace. So code switching is important, knowing what words to use when, knowing and being mindful of the language that you use, choice of words, and of course, keeping it short, clipped. If you remember earlier, our letters, snail mail were much longer than our emails, and now our texts are much shorter than our emails. So definitely our communication is becoming swifter, but should not be at the cost of being mindful and being empathetic.
A question for you, Swati, from the parents' point of view, how can we develop good communication skills in our kids?
Since the child is born, we are, as parents, I'm a parent too, we are communicating to our children. We may not be using a language, we may be using non-verbal gestures. So I would say that first the child learns through imitation. And what are the others doing around me? What are they speaking? Even if you look at mother tongue, how does the child pick up the mother tongue? By just listening. Nobody teaches him or her the mother tongue. So I would say the signals, the messages are all around us. Communication is something that starts as soon as the child is born. So I would say that, even aspects such as kindness, empathy, being yourself, being confident, building self-esteem, these are signals that we pass as parents to our children. So no age, is too early. I would say start as early as possible. But if you're talking about language ability, then of course, when the child starts school, then there's this, whole curriculum that kicks in. There are books, there are, however, still there are audiovisual resources. There are resources all around the house. There are books that you can read, and watch television, watch news. You can, I would say, the sustained effort of communication skills really starts as early as possible, but you have to take the lead as a parent. That's the key here.
Improving communication skill requires investing time on oneself. What are your suggestions on utilizing the limited time we have every day to improve our communication skills?
All right. Of course, the tips are quick, but the task is not. So here are my top tips, so to speak. One is to, of course, read mindfully. It's a good idea to read if you're comfortable on Kindle or on your, regular paperbacks or hardbound books. That's up to you. Read, enhance your vocabulary. Try to use the words that are there in your passive vocabulary convert them into active vocabulary. Use as much as you can. Try to write perhaps, an email or a diary entry, whatever you're comfortable in every day. If you can, recall your, day, how was it spent? There's a lot of talk of mindful journaling also these days. So it's a two-pronged approach. It'll hit two birds with one stone, I feel. Third, also identify what are the sub-skills that you need to work on. Is it pronunciation? You have Google, even if you search for a word on Google, you'll get 3 kinds of pronunciations this time. You'll get American, you'll get global, and you'll get Indian as well. So there are resources. Go to Google, punch a word, find out what is the word of the year in dictionary.com, OUP, CUP. They keep coming up. They keep coming up with words every year. I was just reading today that wax is the word that they have come up with for this year, short for vaccine. Okay. Yeah, short for vaccine, right. And then I would definitely say that practicing conversational skills. We have AI these days. We have chatbots. There are these websites that you can go to and exercise conversation skills with them. You can exercise telephoning with your friends. You can record your voice. One very good tip, that I have found useful in my career is that when students record their voice and then they listen to it, because sometimes we speak, but we don't listen to ourselves. For whatever reason, even if we are conscious of, standing in front of the mirror, record your voice, listen to it, and then identify what are the anomalies. Sometimes you can even compare it with the standard pronunciation of a word. And then you know that, okay, this is the part I need to stress upon. This is the syllable I need to stress upon. Third, I would say in spoken English, what is very important for Indian users of the language, for all of us, is word stress, is enunciation of the sound. So more stress on the word, being aware of the tone. Sometimes, because we're so much on, technological interfaces now, we forget that we are conveying a lot through our voice. We're conveying a maximum through our voice, in fact, and even body language. So how we convey our thoughts is also through our voice. So voice inflection, intonation, word stress, these are the aspects that you could work on. And how would you work on that? By recording your voice, by listening to it again, and listening to another standard, user of the language using the same sentence, or speaking the same sentence, perhaps. Next, I would say, if you're planning to improve your, let's say, listening skill, why don't you listen to Audible, audiobooks? Not only Audible, some other platform of your choosing. Audiobooks. If you're not comfortable reading, you can also listen to audio books. This will also cater to all learning styles. Somebody may be more oral, in listening, in learning, more comfortable in oral learning. So listen to podcasts. There's ESL Cafe. There are a lot of English as a second language learning podcasts, which are free to listen to. This will enhance not only your patience to listen, of course, but secondly, also raise awareness of how the words are being pronounced and how can I improve and how can I speak the same way. You don't have to, obviously, we don't have to be, assembly line products. We have different accents. That's fine. So long as there's clarity in enunciation of sounds and this listener can understand your message and can process it, that's fine. Emphasis on accent is also incorrect, I think.
And with that, we have come to the end of the show. Hope you have enjoyed today's episode. See you next week on another episode of Super Saturdays, Parenting and Beyond. See you all next week. Happy New Year.